welcome to episode 94, Checkpoint Chat. My name is Alessandro Barbosa. I'm joined remotely, as always.
Remotely, I have my remotes by me, Matthew Figueroa.
I can't touch Matthew's face anymore. I can't
try.
lean out and stroke it, even though I've never done that in our 94 episode.
Just like the good old days. Now you just stroke your webcam and go, I miss your face. My favorite part of recording remotely is that you have a permanent moustache.
Yeah, because the angle of my... I mean, you've got your webcam on your monitor and I've got it on the laptop, so it's just like looking up my nostril.
Oh, yeah. You're right. It's the angle.
The other day I was watching a movie. I used that Netflix party extension thing with Shani, so we could sync up a Netflix movie and watch together. But she bought a laptop recently, a very nice one, a Dell XPS. But the main thing I've always seen in reviews about that laptop is like they put the webcam at the bottom so that they can have like a bezel-less screen. And every review is like, this is a really terrible place for a webcam. And I was always like, I hardly use the webcam. But then when she used it, I was like, it is such a bad place for a webcam. Because it's like, I can see the top of her keyboard. So when she's typing, I can see her fingers. And then when she angles it up to her face, it's like looking up from below you. It's a horrible angle.
I think my boss must have one of those. Because
you just see up their nostrils.
No, because whenever we have meetings and you can see him using his trackpad.
Yeah,
typing,
it's probably
and
the
I'm
same
like,
one.
I mean, I did think like how does that even happen?
Yeah.
Like I just never thought that the webcam's on the bottom. But
there's only two laptops that I know do that. It's the Dell XPS and then Huawei's Mate. The Huawei one's quite clever because it hides the webcam under a key on the keyboard, so you can tuck it away when you're not using it. But when you pop it up, it's like it's on the keyboard. Like
I'm watching you.
It's terrible place.
You never have to type webcam again. You just push it and it writes webcam for you.
This has changed my view on how webcams work. Like I now need a I've always thought, I don't need a laptop with a webcam. Now it's like, no, actually, I always need a webcam.
My webcam always has a sticker over it because they're watching me. No, I'm kidding. My webcam, my work laptop has a little slider, which is quite cool.
Yeah, like a privacy slider.
So like, hi FBI, take that. You can't see me, but they can still hear everything.
Yeah, exactly. They just keep their microphone on. I just hear it through the muffled sounds of that slider.
So we've entered week 3 of lockdown, but the counter has been reset.
Yeah, basically it got reset yesterday. Yeah.
Oh shit! How are you feeling about that?
I feel fine because it's like I knew it was going to happen. Like there was no way that it was not going to be extended.
Yeah, when Friday came about today is Saturday. Yeah, sorry, yesterday was a public holiday. That's why I'm thrown. When the weekend rolled about, it was like, hey, yeah, there's one more week left of lockdown. And in the back of my head, I'm like, it doesn't feel right to stop the lockdown. It would be bizarre actually to like, oh, hey, cool guys, lockdown's over. Let's go back to work next week. It just wouldn't feel right. It would almost just defeat the purpose. So I'm grateful it's been extended, but it is still like I 100% acknowledge that it is shitty. I'm very comfortable in my home. I can afford to look after myself, that sort of thing. But I 100% acknowledge that it's shitty for people in townships who are living in like 1-bedroom shacks and on top of each other, and that's really not cool. But it's a difficult thing because what do we do? Like, do we let people just die because the virus takes over, or do we risk this economic crash? So like, I don't know, which is the lesser evil?
Yeah, it's like a rock and a hard place. What was fascinating was that like we've completely slowed down our infection rate. We were estimated to be at 4,000 at the beginning of April, and we only had 2,000. So this is clearly working.
Yeah.
And I just have so much respect for the government right now and the way that they're handling this in a way that like I haven't had a lot of respect for our government for years. And just the way they've handled this has been like so top notch.
Well, I think
really
it's the first time in a long time where, I mean, not everyone agrees. A lot of people are like, oh, I've got that Red Bull action still going. A lot of people ask like, how can they extend the lockdown? Like, our cases are low, X, Y, Z. But it's honestly been the first time in, I don't know, years or decades, whatever, and call it that, Like the president comes on, he says something, I'm like, shit, that is really good.
Yeah.
Like, wow, I'm proud that he made that decision, that sort of thing. It's been
And he's
like,
got this like massive advisory board of like doctors and scientists and businessmen, and it's like it's not just him making the decision. It's
no,
like,
100%.
but he's like taking the time to consult with everyone possible and make the correct calls. And it's weird. Like I can't recall. Probably the last time it happened was around like the Mandela era or whatever, where our president would come on TV and you'd feel reassured by what he was saying.
Yeah.
It's just such a foreign thing because the past 8 years prior to this was definitely not that.
Nothing.
So yeah, it's. I mean, you compare us now lockdown to what's happening in New York at the moment, where they're literally burying people in mass graves.
Yeah.
That is like some wartime shit.
I read yesterday, so the US is on about 500,000 cases.
Mm-hmm.
And I think New York alone is on like 150, 280,000.
New York alone as a state has more infected cases than most countries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And I think around 2,000 people just yesterday died.
Yeah.
So that's like bordering on a 9/11 every day.
Yeah, that's insane. I mean, you think New York it's like in some regard, like the capital of the world, if you want to put it that way.
Financial world, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And if they're the best equipped to handle this thing, and they are struggling.
Exactly. So I think people who criticize our government and say it's unnecessary just need to look at how countries with first world medical care and many more resources possible are dealing with it badly, and just see how well we're doing it. So, yeah. I'm also like, I'm grateful that at least both of us, we are able to do our jobs remotely. We haven't lost any work as part of this, because I know friends who have. Like,
I know my immediate family, we've all been very, like, we're all still working, and they've been there's been very little disruption apart from having to work from home, which has been really good.
Now I've friends in Cape Town who one of them has been reduced to like half pay. Two of my very close friends who are engaged at the moment, they run a tourism business, like their own business, and they're fucked at the moment. Like, and even when the lockdown lifts, they're going to be fucked, because how long will tourism take to get to normal again?
It's gonna be
so I feel extremely bad for people in that situation, and acknowledge we're like in the best situation possible, so the lockdown doesn't affect us. But it's like, it's rough out there. So
no, it really is.
Yeah, if you're struggling, I'm sorry.
I'm
very sorry. I know these are wild times, but I don't know what other course of action they could be, to be honest.
Yeah. Actually, you're right. I don't know what is the alternate.
Yeah, what the alternative is like. So yeah, it's I think it's hard for people who have been affected financially and very very personally by this lockdown to hear that, oh, this is the right course of action. But it's like, it's such a weird, like, we've never lived through this, so
no.
Yeah, it's strange.
Just gonna ride it out. Yeah. Ride the storm out.
But we have lots of video games to play in lockdown.
Holy hell!
Yeah, it's been a good few weeks.
It's been a real good few weeks, and it makes me worry that the future of gaming, immediate future of gaming, has nothing. But you know what? If you can live off the last few weeks of gaming, and you really have, 2020 is a great year for
so far. Yeah, so far it's really
such good games.
It stands in contrast to last year. I remember the beginning of last year had so many big releases, and then so many of them, they came out and they were good, but they weren't like the heavy hitters that everyone was thinking about. Like, I always think about Metro Exodus last year, that I was so excited for, and it's a good game, but it didn't grab me in the way that I thought. It didn't really hook me in the same way that I thought it would. But this year, it's just been like, it's actually almost games that I didn't expect to be grabbed by that are hitting me the most. Like, I know last week we were super down on Resident Evil. Oh wait, let me just get this thing. This Checkpoint Chat, we talk about video games.
I was thinking, I'm like,
Yeah, we talk about video games here, like Resident Evil 3, which, I don't know, I listened to last week's episode and it sounded like we were both like super down on it. And then I played more.
Actually, it's really listening, because I do remember we were like, yeah, this and that, but...
Because I think we'd only played the opening.
we'd play like an hour, maybe two, whatever.
That game is fucking good. That game is so good.
Look, let's just get the elephant out the room. It's not Resident Evil 2.
Yeah.
Okay. But this is what I've been saying to everyone. It's not Resident Evil 2, but that's fine. It's not trying to be Resident Evil 2. And let's just remember, it's meant to be a remake of the original, and Resident Evil 3 was never Resident Evil 2. It is always different, and that's I suppose what split critics and fans, because some people are like, shit, this is amazing, and other people are like, it's not really what I want.
I think
this game is a lot like that. I think
that's what I had to like overcome at first, because like you said, I never played the original of 2 or 3, but going back and seeing people's reactions, that there is this definite divide where 3 was like, firstly, 3 felt very like small in comparison to 2, because it was meant to be like a DLC thing for or an expansion for 2. So it felt much smaller in scope, and then it was action focused. So, you know, you loved it, but I know a lot of people had a very negative reaction to that. So I think what's weird is that they've somehow replicated that divide, which shows just how faithful this remake is.
Like what a good remake. It's got the exact same response as it like
it's got the same critical and player response, like, oh, this is too actiony, I prefer it too. It's like, oh wow, they recreated what happened 20 years ago. But once I got over the mental hurdle of, okay, this is not 2, and I should stop expecting the same sort of tension. Like, it's nowhere near as scary. I didn't find 3 scary at all. It's more like a zombie action movie.
Yeah.
Once I got over that, I've grown to really, really like this game.
It's addictive. Like, I mean, I know we'll get into it, but we've both replayed it already, and I think, like Resident Evil 2, I do think you can replay it because you sort of learn where everything is and where you need to go. But like it's still sort of limited because you don't have a dodge, let's say, for example. But this game almost encourages multiple playthroughs purely because you can see how fast you can do it. You know where to go. You can dodge through enemies, and that's exactly why I was hooked on the original. Was after getting through the original game a few times, it clicked with me. I was like, I wonder how fast I could finish this game. And it's funny because that seems to be a trend where I've seen a lot of people just replaying and be like, yeah, I finished it in like an hour and 45 minutes, an hour and a half. I'm getting faster. Like, it's the reason it's one of the first games I did the speedruns of. Like, not intentionally. I didn't know what a speedrun was at the time.
You just wanted to do it faster and faster, yeah.
I mean, so we both finished it on normal. Your story is incredible. You finished it on normal, and then in the same day, you started again and finished
I was
on
just
hardcore.
like, so I never replayed 2 like this. Like, I replayed 2 with the 2. I did it mainly for the story. I wanted to see how the story was, but it was never like I want to take it on at a harder difficulty or whatever. But as soon as I finished normal, I was just like, wow, I kind of really liked that, and I just want to play it on a harder difficulty. So I started up hardcore straight away, about like half an hour later, and then ended up finishing hardcore in that day, because the hardcore run took me like just under 4 hours, because I knew where everything was. Like, I knew exactly where to go. I knew exactly what to expect. And it was just, I didn't even find hardcore that much harder. I was using the dodge a bit more, but like, I understood Nemesis so much better. And
in hardcore, I found obviously the enemies were harder to take down.
Yes.
But so the opening area I flew through purely because I'd watched speedruns by that point, and I knew, I suppose, like the optimal way to go. But I still paused off to like pick up ammo and stuff for late in the game if I did have to stop and fight things. But by the end of the game, I still had ample supply of everything, you know?
I find in this game that like the first hour you feel a bit stretched for ammo, but eventually you just get so much. Like, the only time I really struggled was in the hospital, because when you're playing as Carlos in the hospital, you're forced to confront a lot of those hunters. And on hardcore, they just took so much damage.
There's only one room that has the 2 of them. Allah.
I ran around finding a grenade, because there's no fucking way I can do that without
But it's
a grenade.
funny because I think in the hospital, you in Carlos's playthrough, before you get to the one bit of the hospital, there's maybe only 1 or 2 grenades. And in my standard playthrough, I had a grenade for that room with the 2 hunters. On my hardcore playthrough, I didn't.
Oh no!
So I was like, how am I going to do this? And eventually, I just I think I used flash grenades, and I just ran in, grabbed the shit I needed, and ran out.
Oh, and ran
Never
out.
to look back. Yeah.
Oh my god.
My favorite part of Carlos though is his. So Jill has her dodge.
Yes.
But Carlos just goes full on kung fu.
Oh yeah, he just punches people. He doesn't dodge. He's just like, I'll just punch you in the face.
Pah!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I had a weird thing with him at the end because you get the vaccine for Jill, and then as you're exiting, as you're trying to get back to her, Hunter appears out of nowhere and had no ammo. So I just creeped past him, and then he knew I was there, so he's following me. So I'm basically like walking very slowly until I can get to a point where it like
you can just run,
hits a cutscene and just ignores this friggin' Hunter. It's so weird. It's like there's so much like jank to this game that's amazing. There's a moment in the hospital when you're playing as Jill where you fight these like two hunters almost immediately, and like in the other room is that BSSA agent what's his name, the guy with the glasses,
Tyrell.
Yeah, Tyrell. He's just chilling there, and I'm just like fighting these two things and running
like, hey,
through,
help.
and he's just like not reacting, and I'm just like, this is so weird.
What the
Okay.
hell, man?
Yeah, and he's just chilling there on the computer, just typing away. Like, there's so much weird stuff, but it's so like running through that game in hardcore was so much fun.
Yeah, I think overall it's got that charm of it's serious but not serious at the same time.
It doesn't take itself seriously.
There's a zombie outbreak, but then there's weird stuff that happens. You're like, yeah, it's like a 90s action movie. You know, you can appreciate it for what it is.
It really
Super
gets
cheesy.
there by the end. That last encounter with Nemesis is so action-y movie. It's so good.
It happened differently in the original, but the same concept. It's like you've got this big gun, this big blob of a monster.
It's so good.
That's it. Yeah. You should 100% replay the original. I'd love to see. Like,
I'm keen to give it a go.
It's obviously very dated. It's still tank controls in it, but I still think very playable. And it'll just be interesting for you to see like what the original was like, because a lot of the core story is there. It's like it overlaps a lot, but then you can appreciate how much they've grown. Like Jill and Carlos's characters are way better in the remake. They like, not that there's anything wrong with them in the original, but it feels like their personalities are so much, I don't know, like they've been amplified, and their back and forth is really good.
Yeah, I actually quite like the banter between Jill and Carlos. I think there's some good characterization there. I think Nikolai is like a really over-the-top, stupid, evil...
What accent does he have?
Oh my god, I don't even know. It's like he's trying to be Russian or...
Because sometimes it honestly felt like he was South African.
Yeah. No, it's a real hodgepodge of attempted accents.
Yeah, he's stereotypical bad guy, like 100%.
Yeah, he's just evil for evil's sake. It's like super weird. But so now I want to do the Nightmare run, which is... So Nightmare is harder than hardcore, obviously, but they shuffle around item and enemy locations. So you'll have tougher enemies at the beginning, your stuff like your shotgun and your bolt cutter are all in different places.
It's all different places, yeah. So I think that one will be difficult to do quickly. I suppose if you just run to each location.
I think that's just going to feel like another tense playthrough.
Yeah. So it's almost hardcore was for me something of I just want to get through this quickly because I know where everything is now. Whereas I think when I bump up to Inferno, it will be like playing it for the first time. I'm going to take it slow, figure like, do I need to kill these enemies? Yes, no. Let me try dodge my way through them.
Yeah, exactly. And you can kind of prioritize. Do I need to go there? Do I need this? Do I need that?
But there's a harder difficulty after Inferno.
Yes.
Which I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
Inferno was,
it gets intense. Like, and there's so many cool challenges. There's a lot of challenges that I'm never gonna do. Like, there's one challenge where it's like, complete the game without opening the storage container, and I'm just like, nah.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm not doing that.
That for me, I'm like, you almost have to plan your route so well to know exactly what to pick up when. You just saw Lenska sneak past because she's going to grab Animal Crossing.
Is it?
She's going to play some Animal Crossing.
She's going to pay bells to Tom Nook.
She's going to go pay off her debts to that bastard raccoon.
Yeah, fucking no, he's a tanuki. He's not a raccoon.
No, but I looked it up. A tanuki is just a kind of raccoon.
No. It's a raccoon dog. It's a dog.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's part
okay.
of the canine family.
Oh, well, okay. Aren't raccoons part of the
It
canine
looks like
family?
it looks like a raccoon, but it's a dog, like a fox.
Oh, that asshole.
Didn't know foxes are part of the canine family either. Learned something new thanks to Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't from
what
Blathers.
an educational game. Yeah, but Resident. Oh, what I was going to say is that I think the game also encourages playthroughs because there's a shop system in place where
What in the original?
in Resident Evil 3 the remake. I don't know if there was in the original, but in Resident Evil 3 you earn currency for like finishing the game.
Oh, the shop in the main menu. I'm like,
Yeah.
there's no shop in the game. What
No.
are you talking
You're
about?
in the main menu, and that almost encourages multiple playthroughs just to get money to buy. So you can buy costumes, but you can also buy
You can buy critical
weapons,
items.
critical items. Weapon. Jesus Christ, what a wild
Yeah,
weapon,
so you can completely accelerate your game time because you can buy like the bolt cutters and the lockpick immediately.
And you do get items that I think, or maybe not necessary, but will be a big help in the harder difficulties because you get coins, for example, that I think the one makes you take a little bit less damage. You can stack it twice.
Yes.
And there's a coin you can equip that makes the dodge easier, which I think might be
There's
really
also one that
helpful.
regens your life.
Yeah, that's also really cool.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you get bitten once, put the control down for 10 minutes, go make a coffee, come back like, full health, thank God.
But I wonder if if I buy the items for like the bolt cutter and the lockpick, and then I basically
Oh, yeah, 'cause you
take
can
out
buy
a
those from
chunk
the
of the
shop.
game.
Yeah.
I take out a huge chunk of the game.
Weapon.
Like, I wonder if that then allows me to still unlock the trophies for like, because one of the trophies is like complete the game with an S rank under 2 hours, which basically just means complete it under 2 hours and save less than 5 times because that's S rank.
I think it's possible, but I don't know if. I mean, I think it's possible without the items, but I think those will go a long way in helping you do it. I don't think the trophy will lock you out of.
Because I was thinking
No.
about it, I was like, even if I put it down to easy and try to do it in 2 hours, it's not a matter of the game's hard. It's like getting through it quickly is difficult. Like in 2 hours is hard.
I think you'll be surprised though at how quick you can do it when you figure the game out. It's so funny. I've got a friend who's been tweeting me saying like, he's seen I've been playing Resident Evil 3 Remake, and he's like, I'm playing it too. You enjoying it? Let me just find his tweet because he's like a big fan. He's sent me 2 or 3 tweets in one day. So the first one is like, I think I've had enough for one day, and he's S ranked, assisted, standard, and hardcore.
Wow.
Okay. Then in the same day, he tweets me like another image, and he's done Nightmare, and his times are like this. Okay. Assisted 2 hours 26, standard 1 hour 43, hardcore
Ooh.
1 minute 6, and then Nightmare 1 1 hour 6 minutes.
1 hour 6 minutes.
1 hour 6 minutes. When you learn the game so well, you optimize it very well.
You're like
And
not
you'll
even
be-
shooting anyone. You're just running past
Yeah,
them.
you'll be surprised at how quick you can do it because the original was the same. I mean, I don't know what my first playthrough was, but I remember after many playthroughs, I was finishing it in like a little over an hour, and that was just straight up running through everything.
Surely then the early parts that take long are the boss fights because those are unavoidable.
Those are unavoidable, but then remember you figure out exactly what to do. Like even on my second playthrough, I knew, because I mean the first playthrough is like, what do I actually have to do here? This dude's doing some shit, I don't know how to get him down, whatever. Now, and I still want to see if there are ways to just straight up out damage a boss without having to trigger certain things.
Because I feel like you have to wait, especially with Nemesis. There's certain phases that you have to wait for.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like I haven't had the time to actually see if I just pump enough damage out, will he drop dead, or
But
do I have to trigger?
You have to
certain
optimize it well because you can't just like skip all the ammo, skip all the things because they give you ammo during those boss fights. But I didn't find it's enough sometimes, especially on the higher difficulties. I was like struggling sometimes.
When I played hardcore, I was so like I told you, I knew exactly where to go, but there were times I was like, I'm actually just gonna go off the beaten path here quick because I know there's ammo in the pharmacy or there's an upgrade there or whatever. So I still did that. But I do think you get so in tune to that game, you just know exactly where to dodge and where to go. Although, like, I don't know how you do that in Nightmare when item locations are moved. I'm like, how do you do that quickly?
Okay, but what about a knife run?
Yeah,
Fuck
knife
that
runs, I don't
noise.
know.
Yeah.
People will do it though.
How do you do the boss runs? How do you do the boss fights with a knife only? I don't know.
But that's why I want to know if you can out damage the boss without having to trigger certain things. Because if you can, then knife run is possible. It'll just take real long to do.
Yeah, it will take very long. That's not a speed run thing.
Have you ever watched a Resident Evil 2 speed run?
I've watched one, yes.
So that William Birkin fight, the first one where he's got the metal pipe.
Yes.
All the speedrunners do that with a knife.
What?
Because they found there's a way to like cheese the boss.
Yeah.
Where so you have to shoot him in the eye to do damage.
Yeah.
But I don't know who the hell figured this out. But if you aim down and you knife, okay, you've got like a slash movement.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, because you're aiming down, the slash movement's going up, like on the follow through.
Huh?
So they basically just get into they just run at the boss, they aim down, and they just spam knife because the knife is constantly arcing up and hitting him in the eye.
What
And
the hell?
that's quicker than actually throwing
Like
grenades at
fighting
him or yeah. So it's possible. People figure out this shit. I wouldn't be surprised if it is like, oh well, Nemesis, you have to do this, and then he gets staggered, and then you just spam knife. Like I don't know.
I still need to go back to that game and finish the hunk challenge.
I also never finish it.
Man, I used to get so far, and then stupid plant things right at the end killed me.
Murdered you.
They just one shot me, yeah, because I didn't have a knife or whatever.
Son of a bitch. Yeah, but I think we can all agree that RE2 is a great game. RE3 is doesn't hit the same sort of survival horror peaks, but it is still a really good Resident Evil game.
I think it's a great game in its own right. It's a different game, and I've had a lot of fun with Resident Evil 3, and I'm going to continue having fun with it.
Yeah, it's what I like about it. It sounds silly because when you play a campaign, the fact that the campaign's short should be a big turnoff, and it is. For most people play it once, but I really like the fact that on a day I can like, you know what, I just want to do a playthrough of Resident Evil, and I can just pick it up and do it because that's what I did with the original. It was on a day I just want to finish it, and I could do it.
I think my total playtime is like 13 hours already, so I've like got a lot out of this game already, even though its campaigns are shorter. But it's a lot of fun. It's it got me to watch a whole YouTube video explaining the story of Resident Evil, and I've realized after Resident Evil 3 it gets stupid. The story gets so dumb after Resident Evil 3.
That's like a trilogy, so it's very self-contained.
Raccoon
Resident
City.
Evil 1's the mansion, and this is where the virus sort of started, and then Resident Evil 2 and 3 are just Raccoon City, and then that's it.
Four is like its own standalone thing, but it starts like leading to these threads of like, this Las Plagas and the progenitor virus.
It's a different virus, and
it
this
gets
and that,
so
and
stupid. But I love 5. I love 5 for what it is, a great co-op adventure, but that story is fucking pants. It is so stupid.
Yeah, but then 5, it veers off. It's like, is this Umbrella? No, it's like some other pharmaceutical company, blah, blah, blah. And it's like,
Wesker can catch grenades or rockets in midair, and Chris Redfield punches a boulder while he's fighting him in a volcano. It's like, what the hell happened to this series? Yeah.
I know what you're complaining about. It's great.
Yeah. But
if Carlos can punch a hunter in the face,
Chris
Redfield can punch a boulder. Okay.
Speaking of Chris Redfield, did you see this is bleeding into news, but did you see that rumor that came out during the week about so Capcom says that they have 4 AAA games for their next fiscal year, which they're currently in. The first of which and they have 2 Resident Evil games, the first of which was Resident Evil 3. And then after that, a rumor came out stating that Resident Evil 8 will be launching in early 2021. And it's going to be the same, like, first-person action as 7, but it's going to star Chris Redfield, and it's going to have elements in it that are very new to the series, sort of like hallucinations and themes of insanity and stuff like that. And it's apparently called Resident Evil Village. Because village is VILL, and when you it's 8. It's like okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Well, on that'd be interesting to see, because at the start of Resident Evil 3, you can see Jill's got some real PTSD from her experience in the mansion,
Arklay Mountains, yeah.
And that just gives it a little look. I know the game's ridiculous, but that grounds it in reality a bit more, because realistically speaking, if you had to survive that horror, you would be really screwed up, you'd have a real difficult time reslotting back into society with that sort of shit in your head.
Yeah.
So if they lean into that, because Chris Redfield, he's
he was in
Resident Evil
7
1.
in the DLC.
Yeah, he was one of the characters in Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil. He did pop up in Code Veronica, which a lot of people are now asking for a remake of.
I listened to the story of Code Veronica, and that thing can die in a fire.
I
Some
played that
fucking
game.
clone twins, and one of them's Veronica, and what?
But
the
I mean,
hell?
but it's got the Redfield siblings, and it's got Wesker, and it's a good time in that regard.
Isn't it Jill is in Revelations, correct?
She does. Jill's actually in Resident Evil 5 as well.
What?
I don't know if you remember. Yeah, you go look her up. You'll recognize her. She's in Resident Evil 5.
Oh yes, she is. Because
Yeah.
you're the one Chris is trying to save. Because you went to Fort
Yes.
Wesker and she jumped down and then she has
then-
that stupid thing on her chest.
Yeah, and then she's in Revelations 1.
Oh, because Claire Redfield is in
She's in
Revelations 2.
Revelations 2.
And you say
And then-
Revelations aren't that good, hey?
No, I think they were pretty strong Resident Evil titles. Like one
One
I
is
think
on a
I-
ship.
one is on a ship, but 2 is highly enjoyable. Like if you haven't played that, it's on Switch, for example. If you want some, it's the same sort of over the shoulder. And what's cool is that it's done as like a TV show, so it's done in episodes.
Oh, okay.
So in episodes like 30 minutes to an hour.
Mm.
It's very digestible, and I really enjoyed it.
I did watch as part of this retrospective the story of 6, and wow, that story.
Six is the one that went. They threw too much into the pot.
Oh my god, that story.
It's like
is
we're gonna
nonsense.
take all the characters and make 3 campaigns, and
Albert Wesker's son is there, and
yeah,
nonsense, absolute
Nonsense.
fucking nonsense.
Oh my god.
But yeah, Resident Evil 3, really good, and Capcom still on track. I was a bit worried after seeing the reviews, and then especially last week when you chatted about it only after an hour, because I was still in that Resident Evil 2 mode. But what a game! What a
It's
game!
really fun.
Yeah,
Would recommend.
Yeah,
but
what else have you been playing?
Have you played anything else this week? No. Been faffing.
No, you've been faffing. I jumped back into Resident Evil 2, Half-Life 2 yesterday, because I'm still on the path to finishing it.
Half-Life, Alex.
First, I spent an hour trying to get the game to launch again, because PC gaming is the absolute fucking best.
Why did
A
it not
game that
launch?
worked and now it doesn't work. So it was just crashing on startup, and it turns out that I updated my MSI Afterburner stuff, because I just use it to control my fans on my GPU, and that was, as soon as I closed that and launched the game, then it worked.
Wow.
PC games.
How did you even figure that out?
I was just like trying to go backwards. I was like, what did I not have when I played this game last time? And that was one of the things. And I was like, yep.
Shit.
Yeah. And do you know how hard it is trying to find solutions to a crashing problem for a game that's
For a game, it's like
two decades old? Because you find results from, it's like crashing on Windows 7. You're like, no.
That game came out in 2004, I think.
Yeah. So,
Okay, so it's 25 years old, 26 years old.
no.
That is... Oh, wait. Sorry, my maths. 15, 16 years old. Jesus.
Yes.
Out the window. That just dawned on me. I was like, wow, it's that old? How?
But it's like, it becomes such a nightmare trying to find solutions when a game... Anyway, I got it working, and I'm still really enjoying that game.
How does it hold up? Like,
It
when you're
holds up
enjoying it?
super... So this is what was interesting. Yesterday, I went back and just played a bunch of old shooters. For every now and then, I just like try and go back to ones that I've played a lot, just to see how they've kind of held up. So I bought 2 Crysis titles off EA Origins having a sale. So I picked up Crysis 2 for like $60. And
Can your machine handle Crysis?
hell yeah, yes it can.
Oh, nice. Finally.
So I remember
often
when I
this
played Crysis 2, I was like, man, this game is so fucking beautiful. It is still beautiful. It's still really, really nice, but it's got an art style that doesn't hold up. It's got this like,
really?
yeah, when it's going for like super realism like that, you can see where it's aged.
Okay.
Also,
I think back in the day, it fooled everyone's being like, whoa.
yeah,
that's
it was like
real
unbelievable,
realistic.
like really, really photorealism. So it was still fun. The gunplay still feels fine. It feels a bit janky here and there, but still fun. Then I played another shooter called Syndicate. I don't know if you ever remember that.
I never played that, but
that
I
game's
know,
cool.
I know Syndicate, yeah.
That game visually doesn't hold up that well, but it's got some cool ideas, and I really like the movement in that game. But Half-Life, being the oldest out of all of them, because it's not going for super realism in a way, like I forgive its shortcomings visually a lot easier than I did the other two. And honestly, the gunplay in Half-Life is fucking great. Like
it feels good.
the impact. I got that Combine assault rifle yesterday.
Yeah.
That gun is so
It's
good.
good,
It feels so nice to fire, and it feels powerful, and it's just like little touches like that. Oh,
that game, I think, was one of the first games I played, because before then you could really hoard ammunition. It was never an issue. That game gives you just enough limited ammo that you are forced to swap between your weapons.
Yeah, definitely.
It's kind of like what Doom does today, actually, because you've got limited ammo, you're forced to swap between your weapons. And Half-Life 2 did that however many years ago. And at the time I was like, that's weird. I want to just play with this gun.
Yeah.
You know? But looking back on it now, I think it's cool because it forces you to think, what am I going to do? Okay, I'm going to switch to my shotgun. Can I do switch to my pistol? Now I'm going to switch to my SMG. Now I'm going to switch to my, you know what I mean? Like it's a cool little.
It's funny that you say that, because I was thinking the exact same thing last night when I was playing, because I got to some areas where I was fighting like different little bug creatures, and then I was fighting the Combine, and like every enemy requires a certain strategy, and I couldn't just, even though I really love that shotgun, I couldn't just run through with the shotgun. That game's
good.
like 15 years old, and it's got like ideas that Doom Eternal is like touting as a big thing now, and it's like, Half-Life did that shit.
It did that shit.
And like when you play, I think is it Ravenholm or Raven?
Yeah.
Like there's like no ammo, and you encouraged to use the gravity gun a lot
more. And I love how the game, but before and after that, it's like just action for the most part.
It's like survival horror.
That is, it becomes like a horror game.
It's terrifying when those other head crabs, the like infected head crabs, and those when they infect people, they become like zombie, like almost like lickers in a way. They're just like yeses. And that priest was fucked up. He was just like. It's just like fire and all the little guys screaming in the fire. It was creepy as hell.
But how cool though? Like just a random chapter of different, you know.
So
that game's great.
I finished Project Nova, where I was storming that like jail cell thing with all my bug buddies. What a great sequence.
See, now that you talk about it, I'm like, of course this game holds up. It's got all these great moments.
It's so good. Like it's like, oh, I was fighting these things earlier in the sand and they were wrecking me, and now they're like I've got this like platoon of them following me into battle. It's like so good. The only thing I don't like about the game are the extended driving sequences. So I've done the boat and now I've done the car. They go on for far too long. They're way too long.
I think that was just, to be honest, I think that might have just been Valve flexing.
Yeah.
Being like, look what our engine can do. And it is, because I don't really know if there were any other games that did that before, where you basically, there's like action, then there's like, okay, just chill out, take this drive to the next area. And it showed you, it's like, whoa, these areas are very big.
Yeah.
You know?
And there's action interspersed in them, but they're too long.
I think maybe that's something that's like not aged very well.
Yeah.
But I think for the time it was the thing of like, holy shit, like this is really cool.
It's also not aged well because you go through all these like tunnels where it's like it pauses to load and then it loads in, you know, like so it's like it just feels really prolonged, and I was really happy to finish those sections. But I think I'm nearing the end because I'm about to finish Nova Prospect and head back with Alex.
Yeah, you're on the way to the end,
Yeah.
And then, you've got episode 1 and 2, and then after episode 2, you can be in the same boat as all the people saying, wait.
No, then I can finally play Alex.
Half-Life Alex. Okay, but remember, Alex is the prequel.
I know, but everyone is saying there's something at the end of Alex that blows the doors open for the continuation of this franchise, and I'm just like, I need to know what this is. Cool. There was a really cool part, though, where I got to I was at like a rebel base or something, and there was like a telescope that was looking out like far, and it was looking at another one of the rebel bases, And it's like scanning, and then next thing I see G-Man talking to one of the rebels. I'm like, oh my god, this guy's just everywhere.
They've done that for most of the games. I mean, if you had to replay Black Mesa,
I did
like really
recently. Yeah.
No, I know you played it recently, but if you had to replay it, you'll never know the sort of stuff like, oh my god, he's there. You know, there's so many. Because I replayed Half-Life a few times, and there were several things I didn't see, like a little side Easter egg go off the beaten path that he's in a window watching you. Like,
I remember the one part where he's just like in an office and he's just observing you, and then when you kill everyone, he just walks away. Like, what the hell is?
So now that you are consumed by the Half-Life world, just let this sink in. Portal exists in the same world.
I know.
Okay, so now Half-Life 3 for the longest time it has been, how cool would it be if there's an overlap and you do get to use the portal gun as Gordon Freeman, or vice versa. Like you cross paths. How
or
cool
it's like a dual protagonist game with Gordon Freeman and is it Shell? Self?
Shell. I think it's Shell.
Yeah.
Shell. Yeah.
That would be fucking
good
cool.
times.
That'd be so. I still think there's. I mean, maybe people have tried this, but I would love a multiplayer game where you have the portal gun, like a multiplayer shooter with portals.
That'd be awesome.
I did read a retrospective because everyone's like, "Oh, why didn't they make Portal the VR game?" And
I think you would throw up.
Exactly. One developer was like, "Just think about how most of the puzzles in Portal use locomotion. Like it's all about speed and maintaining momentum and stuff. And it's like, now do that in VR. It just will never work." Your perspective changes and it would fuck with you so badly. Yeah. So I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
I almost feel like that developer's saying, like, just think about it. Like, we've already tried it and it didn't work.
Yeah.
we had vomit everywhere. It just wasn't worth it.
I did read a fascinating thing about why there isn't a crowbar in Half-Life Alyx. So they said that they initially obviously tried it because crowbars and Half-Life are, but they kind of like realized that a lot of the time people when playing with the crowbar would put their hands by their side because they were just, they weren't using it at the time.
They're just hitting,
And because it was physical, it would hook onto things off screen and cause like chaos. Like people would suddenly be hooking a box or something. So they were like, this isn't working.
You look down, you got a trail of like 5 things following.
Exactly, yeah. You just like, and you've got like a head crab just like dragging by the end. So they just took it out entirely, which is an interesting problem I would have never thought about. So
yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying Half-Life though.
It's good. It's very good. Great. The story's good. The action set pieces are so good. I can understand why this game was so revered now.
Yeah, now imagine playing it 15 years ago.
Oh yeah, it must have blown minds. Like
it was mind blowing. Sure.
You've also been playing an old game.
Oh god, Wait, what old game?
Final Fantasy VII.
Wait, but before I get to that, I just want to briefly touch on, because I know we're going on we spoke about Resident Evil for a long time.
We did.
Not even 3.
I haven't even been looking at the time.
We're on 46 minutes just about.
Hell yeah.
I do just want to say that I'm nearly done with Doom Eternal. Speaking of shooters, I'm literally on the last mission. I'm at the point where it's like you go through this portal, like there's no going back until you're done, sort of thing. So I know I'm on the last mission, and all I'll say is that game is Doom 2016 on steroids. Which take from that what you will, because Doom 2016 is a wild ride. Doom Eternal just turns everything up, and I really do want to talk about it, but I'm not gonna do justice in like 3 minutes. And I would like to see the story out.
Okay.
And I also, what I will say for another week is I did finish Ori in the Will of the Wisps this week as well.
I need to play that.
And you really need to play that.
Yeah.
Like, because you only recently replayed Blind Forest, and Will of the Wisps, I mean, I've said it several times now, it just ramps up everything. But not only in terms of combat, like even the way the story sort of wraps up now, and just the story beats, it's such a strong sequel. Like, it's incredible how they've taken what I thought was something that could never top, and I really think that Will of the Wisp is better than Blind Forest in
really
so many ways. Yeah, like I do think there may be 1 or 2 niggles that I'd criticize, but overall though, like I wish I could like empty my memory and play it from scratch, because it's like Blind Forest. It left such an impression on me. This was such a strong game.
Yeah.
So
and did you
would recommend.
How long was like your playthrough? Because I've heard it is a longer game.
My playthrough was 15 hours.
Oh, okay. So it's not like Hollow Knight length.
No. So it's not Hollow Knight length, but it's about 15 hours, and I think I haven't 100%ed it. I'm on like 85, 90%, so I've just got a few side quests and things to collect. I will say that time is a little, like maybe an hour longer, because I did spend some time trying to figure out what to do next at one point, because it's a proper Metroidvania in the sense that you reach a point in the game where there are several ways you can go.
Okay.
And at one point, I wasn't sure what to do.
Okay.
And when I figured it out, when you play the game, I'll tell you what it was. You'll be like, how did you not know that? It was such a dumb thing. I spoke to Garth and Jeff, and I was like, you know that it took me a long time to figure this one thing out. They're like, wow, it's so obvious. I'm like, it is, but I just didn't think about it. But yeah, so I'll talk about Ori and Doom next week.
All of the woods. Yeah. I'll try play one of them so we can have a conversation about that. Ooh.
But what I did play last night for a good 2.5 hours, finally, pun intended, Final Fantasy VII Remake.
It's here.
And
it's real.
Oh my God, let me tell you. So we both, you played the demo, right? You did.
Yeah. Which is just the bombing run, yeah.
So we played that, and it left a good impression on us, because it shows you that it's pretty much, it's the same story beat with twist, and they've fleshed it out, but they've also like revamped the combat system, and it's Final Fantasy on a modern.
It's the
setting,
game your imagination remembers.
That's the best way to explain it, because Final Fantasy VII came out in 97. I think it was 97. And as good as it was, that you look back on it now, it's almost I want to say empty, but in comparison to modern games, it feels bare, because there's only so many characters that could put in, only so many cutscenes, only so much game that could make on the technology back then. This now, which is the case with a lot of remakes, like even, sorry to mention, like Resident Evil 2 and 3, they've got the tools to really flesh it out beyond what the scope allowed back then. Mm-hmm. So even in the bombing mission alone, there's really stuff that wasn't in the demo. Not in terms of story, but in terms of gameplay. So
that wasn't in the demo?
Yeah, so you know in the demo, you could really just attack and use spells, let's say.
Yes.
You can actually use abilities now. So remember Cloud's one limit break in the original was... what is it called?
Cross slash or something?
So that is his limit break, which is in the game now, which wasn't in the demo.
That wasn't the demo. I used his limit break in the demo.
Okay, I never got it in the demo. But he's got an ability called Braver, which is it uses an ATB bar to do that signature move. If he jumps up, he just does a strike, and it does a lot of damage. Mm-hmm. Like that wasn't in the demo, and him and Barrett have abilities now like that you sprinkle into combat, which is cool.
Ooh.
Hang on, let me just drink some water here, because I'm feeling parched.
Save some hydrate yourself. Stay hydrated in lockdown situations, folks.
Yeah, geez, like
drink some water.
So the bombing mission, I did it again. Loved it just as much. The Scorpion boss fight is great. Like I know we criticize how cheesy it is that you have to hide behind debris for the laser tail, but overall, just the fact that it's cinematic and it is what it is, so good. But on that note, a lot of people were worried that the demo is this cinematic. How they're going to carry that for the whole game. And I've only played past that and Chapter 2, the one that follows. And it's unreal how they fleshed out everything. Like I can 100% understand why this is just part 1. Because you could never give this level of detail to the whole game in one sitting. Like imagine making a 150-hour experience. Like it's impossible. It would have taken not decades, but a decade to make. So you've played the original a little bit. After the bombing run, like we mentioned before we started recording, you bombed the reactor. And I don't think this is spoilers, because
it's literally the beginning of the game.
It's been out. It's even if you never played the game, it's the first hour.
It's
of the game.
Prologue. Yeah.
You basically blow up a reactor. So you're playing as
Cloud Strife.
As Cloud Strife, you've joined a rebel group called Avalanche, who are trying to take down this evil corporation called Shinra.
They're like eco-terrorists.
They're eco-terrorists, and they actually say that there's one part in the game where the dude's like, eco-terrorists. Like, I mean, not. I think he said eco-warriors, eco-terrorists.
They're like if Greenpeace did something.
Fought shit, yeah.
Yeah.
So they're trying to take down Shinra, who are literally sucking the life of the planet to like make profit and power and all sorts of things. So what they're trying to do is
so political.
it's so political. So they blow up the reactor, okay, which happens in the original, and it's like, okay, cool, they blew up the reactor, yay, whatever. In this game, though, they show the ramifications of that, of like, okay, they've blown up the reactor, but I don't know if you remember in the demo, they show that the bomb didn't actually work. Shinra ended up blowing up the reactor. Do you remember that? You see the president and his one like military advisor. They've got a camera feed of the reactor, and the bomb that Cloud and Barrett put down actually doesn't blow up the reactor. It has like a big boom, and that's that. They actually trigger the explosion themselves with their machines, whatever, and it creates this insane explosion that ends up like ruining the sectors around the reactor. And then it opens up these really interesting moments of, so Avalanche, like, yeah, we did it, we stuck it to the man, but then they get to the surface and everything's like in flames. And then it's all of a sudden you have characters being like, did we do this? Like, are we responsible for this?
Are we the bad guys?
Are we the bad guys? And there's some good back and forth, which was just never in the original, because
you go straight to the hideouts in the original.
You blow up the reactor, you spend a bit of, like, there's a little bit of side stuff, but you go back to the hideouts. Like, cool, job done. In this game, you walk through the streets of Midgar and you see what's happened and how you've affected people's, it wasn't really you, but people's lives have been affected.
That's a clever expansion on that.
It's like, just it's something that was missing, but looking back now, you might have thought like you said, you fill in the blanks. You would think like, I wonder what happened to people. Like, surely people died in that explosion.
It's giving you a lot more characterization.
Now there's a lot of characterization and the back and forth between characters. I mean, even just the dialogue between the core characters, there's so much of it. I'm like, damn, this must have taken a long time to write and record, because I'm only just scratching the surface now, and there's a whole game to experience still. But one thing I do want to say, so I mentioned earlier that Final Fantasy VII, and probably the only reason I feel now that it felt empty back then, is because the Final Fantasy VII Remake does a real good job of making you feel like you're in like a city full of people. Okay. So think about how so when Cyberpunk was shown and you walked into the city, it's not quite on that scale, but it gave that impression of, wow, this is a living, breathing city.
Yeah.
You walk through the city and there are just tons of people and there's tons of dialogue happening, and it just feels more alive. I mean, think of the one example I could think of is Final Fantasy 15. Did you ever feel like you were actually in a city populated by millions of people at any point?
No, not really. I mean, the closest you get to that is that seaside town. I forgot the name now, where there's like a few people running around here and there, but most of the time it felt like I was going to little pockets of
but you know what I mean. There are one or two cities where it's like, whoa, we're in this big city, and then you walk the streets and it's like, there's a dude here.
Yeah, it's very empty. Yeah,
it's very bare.
Yeah,
this feels like they've populated the streets with a lot of people, and it just makes the city feel alive, which is really cool. That wasn't ever a thing in Final Fantasy VII.
It's kind of wild that we got Final Fantasy 15 and Remake in the same gen.
Yeah, and it's amazing that as much as I love Final Fantasy 15, Final Fantasy VII Remake has parts of it that I'm like, it makes it, like, this is one of them, it makes it feel more alive. Final Fantasy 15 felt empty, and that was one of my criticisms. It's this big world in this modern platform, and it still felt empty, which is very weird. Yeah, but other than that, Final Fantasy VII Remake, the combat is so good. Like, so I mentioned that the characters have abilities now, and just sprinkle that into what we saw in the demo, and it just feels good to juggle between. I've only got 2 characters still, but I'm going to get 3 eventually, and just bouncing between them. You attack with Cloud, fill up his ATB gauge, you do like a braver attack, then you switch to Barrett, you do his charge attack, and it feels real good. And I can't wait to play more of it, because I've already picked up like new materia.
Ooh, so you can slot in new spells and stuff. Yeah,
so one of the first ones I got was you can dodge an attack straight out of a dodge. You do like a whole new move set, which is really cool, because then the combat already feels fluid, but now it feels even more fluid because I can bounce between enemies real quick.
But it still retains that strategic element so far.
Oh yeah, definitely. But yeah, I'm in awe of the level of detail that I've seen in the first 2 hours. And I'm really glad it's a long weekend because I can go play a lot more.
Yeah, you have like 3 days with nothing ahead of you to just play.
It's such a tricky thing because I'm right at the end of Doom. I know I've got one mission. I'm like, but then I have to stop playing Final Fantasy to do it.
All these great games. You've got to pace yourself because there's like not much coming out in the next few weeks.
Shit, well, it's actually such a pity because imagine The Last of Us 2 was coming out in May, and we had our normal release schedule. This year is off to such a bang. Like honestly, there've been some real hits already in the first 4 months of the year, and I mean that doesn't take away from 2020. We're still going to get big games towards the end of the year, but she's like, it's been a great year. The last, if I think about it, the last week alone, I finished Resident Evil 3. I finished Ori and the Will of the Wisps. I'm on like literally about to finish Doom Eternal, and I'm playing Final Fantasy 7 Remake.
It's kind of wild in the same week. Yeah, May. Yeah. I mean, the end of March like really, really went off with the bang, and the beginning of April sustained that. And now I'm just looking at so we're looking at game releases for the next week.
Let's not forget we're all still playing Animal Crossing.
Yeah,
just as good.
I'm busy playing the stalk market and losing terribly.
I know.
I'm still enjoying the hell out of Animal Crossing. I've slowed down on how much I play per day, which I think is the correct thing to do. But it's cool to just check in for an hour or two a day and still feel like I'm doing something. So I'm just cannot wait till this Easter event is over because it's complete nonsense.
I must say, I was very easygoing, like, it's a fun event, but I'm reached a point now where I'm trying to farm iron and I'm getting 1 iron nugget out of a rock and 3 eggs. I'm like,
no, these eggs need to disappear. I'm so sick of fishing and every second thing I catch is an egg. It's just, it's annoying the shit out of me. So, that ends, I think, well, by the time this podcast is up, the event would have ended. So, thank the Lord.
Go down.
Game releases for next week is literally nothing.
Shit.
The next game release on the list we have at least is April 21st. So hope you enjoy those games from last week, like Final Fantasy 7, Resident Evil, and stuff.
Nice, man.
So literally nothing. So game news?
Game news? Was it gaming news this week?
PlayStation revealed their PS5 controller.
Oh, yes, there is game news. What do you think of the controller?
So firstly, it's not a DualShock. It's now called a DualSense.
DualSense. It rolls off the tongue.
DualSense. It's weird. So firstly, what strikes me the most about this thing is that it gives us our first look at the design language for the PlayStation 5, because all the DualShocks prior to this have been kind of the same shape. They've all followed the same design language, so to speak. This one feels like a massive departure from the rest. Not as massive as that prototype boomerang nonsense for the PlayStation 3 once upon a time. But like, firstly, it's two-tone, so it's got a white face, and then like it tapers off into black when you get to the thumbsticks, which I don't like particularly. I don't like the color scheme. Like I like how the controller looks, but the color scheme doesn't sit with me. I don't know what you think.
I find it interesting. I associate PlayStation with black controllers. It's always been like a default black controller. Like the only white controller that comes to mind is the Destiny Special Edition PlayStation that came out a few years ago. That is like a beautiful white console, and then obviously a whole bunch of others that have come out. What I do is I think it's quite nice. Like I don't have anything against it. I think it's a very interesting looking redesign of like a normal PS4 controller. But what one of my designer friends did point out, he says he thinks it's been designed in a way that PlayStation will have their own design lab. In that, Xbox has a design lab, you can design your own color schemes, have your own custom controller. He says it feels like it's designed in a way that they'll be able to do that with ease. Because
I definitely think so,
If you look at the current PS4 controller, like it's a nice controller, but it doesn't feel like there's as much customization you could do to like an Xbox controller. So he thinks that they're gearing towards that, which makes sense because I think Design Lab makes a fair bit of money for Xbox.
For Xbox, yeah, and I think both companies this gen have embraced weird, and I think Xbox has done a better job with it, but like really colorful controllers and stuff like that. So like the standard is almost like not even a standard anymore. When I think of Xbox One controllers, I don't even think of just the regular black one. I'm thinking about like this translucent ones or the color blocking ones or
it's interesting because I also thought of the Xbox as the black controller, but towards the second half of this gen, I've just thought of it as a white controller.
Yeah, because the Slim came out with the... And you see, the Xbox white controller I like a lot because firstly, it's all white, but then it retains some color. Like, they still have the colored face buttons, which is really nice. Here, this PlayStation controller, it loses some of the identity. Like, you've lost the color off the buttons, which just feels
it's true.
Weird
Looking at it now,
like...
No, I think it, like, aesthetically, I think it looks really nice, but maybe, the fact that it doesn't have the colors is a bit jarring, because you look at it, is square supposed to be pink, triangle.
Yeah, to me, that's such an identity for PlayStation, and I feel like it's just, I mean, even on the Xbox controllers because they do have Xbox One controllers where they don't have the colored buttons, they have like a pyramid in the middle of the buttons that has the button colors, which even as small as that is, gives it a bit of... I don't. Listen, like I like the rest of this controller, so it's just like I like that the PlayStation button isn't a circle anymore. It's actually just like the PlayStation logo, which looks kind of neat.
Yeah. What does? Oh, sorry, Karen.
No.
What does worry me about this controller is that the thumbsticks look like they're made from the exact same material as the PS4,
and the material is garbage.
The PS4 had garbage thumbsticks.
Yeah.
So
the material on that.
Case,
I mean, it got a bit better later in the gen, but it's not great. It's not great material. I don't like it. The one thing that is also striking is the form factor looks different. So it looks a lot more rounded and actually a bit bigger than the DualShock 4. And I don't think it's wrong to say that this looks more like an Xbox controller than a DualShock with the curvature of it, which is fine because the Xbox One controller is a lot more comfortable than the DualShock in my opinion. So,
I mean, I love the Xbox. I'm a big PS4 gamer, but I love the Xbox controller.
Yeah, I think it's a
I use it on my PC wherever I can. So
yeah, and I think the things that they've learned are like the more pronounced triggers, because the Xbox triggers are a lot better. So there's certain features about this controller that are interesting because they're completely new. So firstly, the light bar placement is weird. It's no longer at the front. It's just like on these two little slivers on the top, adjacent to the touchpad, which is still there, surprisingly.
Shock.
So to me, this immediately tells me that this controller is not compatible with PSVR because you need the light bar on the front. That's how the camera tracks the controller. So
that's actually interesting.
Don't know what that means for PSVR compatibility going backwards, because I know Microsoft has already said, hey, Xbox One, Xbox Series X controllers work cross-platform. It doesn't matter which one you're using. So it seems PlayStation's like, cool, maybe that works, but PSVR won't be compatible with the DualSense controller.
That's weird, actually, now that I look at it.
Yeah, it was the first thing that jumped out to me.
That light bar does go across... no, it doesn't even appear at the top of the controller.
No, it doesn't at all. And that's what PSVR needed. That was the whole reason. So that's one thing. The second thing is this combination of haptic feedback and adaptive triggers. So both the Xbox Series X and the PS5 controllers have what they call haptic feedback, which is kind of like an advanced rumble like you find in the Switch. So, I mean, already this gen, Microsoft had vibration in their triggers, which was a really nice touch. But now it seems like both of them are going for a much more refined haptic feedback. The thing that PlayStation has are these things called adaptive triggers, which can dynamically change the tension of the triggers to make you feel things like pulling the drawstring on a bow. Like you can feel that pressure when you're pulling it in, or like when you're the example they give is like when your character's walking through mud, you can feel that sort of resistance in the controller. And not only is that cool, very cool. Firstly, because it's a thing that only their controller does. I wonder how much third-party support there'll be for that. But also, like, how much cost does this add to the controller?
Yeah, I'm busy thinking. I mean, I know this is something. Well, I don't know this, but I presume this is something they've wanted to do for a long time because I mean that's what the rumor's been for the longest time as well. How long is this controller going to last? If you have, I don't know the technology, but say if you do have a little motor like generating resistance or whatever it is, and you're right, like how much is it going to cost? How much cost does it add to the controller?
The controller's got so many more points of failure at this point. It's like, I really like this idea. I think I keep thinking of of Horizon Zero Dawn where, you know, you're pulling the bow as Aloy and you can feel that resistance and then it just like clicks into place and that would feel phenomenal. Like the feedback you can give players just in that is like a whole, open up another door. But like you say, what happens if that motor fails? Like, is the controller obsolete now? Is it an option you can turn off? How much cost does it add to the controller? Because when you think about the console being launched, yes, the biggest cost is the console itself. But if you're looking at a controller, if you're looking at a controller that retails for $10 to $20 more than your competitor, that suddenly adds to the cost. So,
have they said that the PS4 controller will be compatible with the PS5?
I don't know.
Because I sincerely hope that that's the case. Because I mean, cool. Say I buy my PS5 and I get the controller out the box and it's great, and then it breaks 2-3 years down the line. I think shit. I've got to replace this, but my PS4 controller works. Or I can get a PS4 controller for cheaper than the PS5 controller. I could pay the premium to get the extra features, but I don't really care for, I don't know, vibrations or the response, whatever.
I don't see why, because there's nothing on the DualSense 5 that screams like you can't use it. Like, I don't see why they couldn't allow it. You could, if a game has adaptive trigger support, then obviously just doesn't support it on the DualShock 4.
It just doesn't support it,
So I don't see why not, but...
Here's a fun fact. You know that the PS4 controller worked on the PS3, but not the other way around.
That's bizarre. That's so weird.
I can't remember. There was a way to do it, but you could sync up your PS4 controller with the PS3.
That's
and I had to
so
do it
weird.
Because the PS3 controllers were actual garbage.
Yes, proper garbage.
And
one of the worst controllers.
I had to use my PS4 controller for, I can't remember what it was for, but it's interesting. Imagine you could use a PS5 controller at the PS4 now. But not for adaptive reasons, but just as a compatibility thing.
That'd be so stupid. Like, it wouldn't surprise me, but it would be so stupid. Like,
it'd be interesting.
Man, you just got me thinking about the PlayStation 3. When it launched, those controllers didn't have vibration. Oh my god!
Remember holding that controller? They were so light.
Those 6-axis
no
ones,
weight to them.
They were terrible. There was no. I remember playing Killzone 2 and there being like absolutely no vibration, and I was just like, "This feels wrong." Like
you're holding air, and then you had to tilt the controller because that.
That 6-axis stuff sucked.
Yeah.
So, but you see, this is exactly the thing. It's like that was a selling point when the PlayStation 3 came out. It's like, oh, we got motion control, and Microsoft's just like, okay. We don't,
nice.
And all the games that use 6-axis were first-party games. Because third-party... It's not that third-party devs weren't like, oh, we don't want to use it. It's more like, why should we go through this extra effort for something that only half the players will experience? So I feel that's why the touch bar on the PS4 controller also gets criminally underused. Because it's used mostly just for map manipulation rather than actual gameplay purposes. Because it's like... Well, when the Xbox controller doesn't have this, so...
I mean, that thing's real handy.
It really is. It's a really nice component of the controller.
What game was it? I think it might... So as much as I didn't enjoy Rage 2, I'm sure it was Rage 2. That had such an interesting use of the touch bar in that every way you swiped, it's something different. So like, if you swiped right, it would pull open the map. If you swiped left, it would pull open the map.
No, you're thinking of Days Gone.
What? Days Gone. Sorry, that's right. I think it was Rage 2. that to me is a very simple use of the touch bar.
Yeah.
It's not complicated. I can't imagine that's difficult to.
Yeah, Days
implement.
Gone actually used it quite nicely. Like
Yeah.
the touch bar has become. It's weird though, but I like it as a very big button. Like I like hitting that for my map.
It's normal, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm also so used to it now.
That feels nice. And actually, I know a lot of people don't like it, but text input with the touch bar is super cool. Like I think it's really comfortable and really nice. So there's a place for it, but yeah, we'll see. The thing that I want to see the most, which is something that they touched on, is a rechargeable battery. So rechargeable internal battery charging via USB-C. This thing better last way longer than the DualShock 4, because that thing is abysmal. It's like 4 or 5 hours max, and it's just horrendous.
So look, the Xbox controller still works with AA batteries, which I still think is like a very weird dated thing to do today. Like the fact that you have to replace your batteries. However, the controller lasts
Way longer.
quite long.
Yeah.
Way long. So if you have rechargeable batteries or like the plain charge kits, like it's cool, The PS4 controllers, the battery's just like...
What I don't mind
joke.
about the Xbox controller is that you can use the rechargeable batteries, or you can buy the the battery pack. And what that helps is that because batteries have a lifespan, eventually your batteries start depleting quicker and charging less. So the Xbox controller never runs into that issue because you can always just replace it. Whereas your Nintendo Switch controllers or the DualShock ones, you can't do that. So the most I'm hoping for is battery life on par with Nintendo Switch's Pro controller. I'd be super stoked with that, which is super long.
Sorcery.
Yeah. So... somewhere around there, something that's like double, like 10 hours is fine for me. Like this 4 hours, like your battery going flat during a PlayStation is just nonsense.
It's
Absolute
ridiculous.
nonsense. So,
Lord.
the other big thing is that it's got a built-in microphone, so you can party chat without a headset.
Which is cool.
What's weird is that Sony is like, yeah, it's good for starting a chat, but then you should transition to a headset. So it's like,
Yeah, I also found that a bit weird. It's like, you could tell the lads you're on the way and then you plug in your headset.
I feel like it's actually more useful for some functionality they haven't spoken about yet, like voice control for the console or something like that.
Yeah, but I mean, it beats having that little earpiece that came with the PS4.
Yes, yeah.
If you can just hold your controller, I don't know if you have to hold it like to your mouth.
Yeah.
But I should be like.
The other thing is that there's no more share and option buttons. So we went from start select to share and option, and now it's just what they call the create button, which I guess will just be an expansion of like taking screenshots and stuff. And then what is very amazing to me is they use the same logo as the Xbox, which the Xbox menu logo isn't their logo. It's just a very uniform logo for a menu. A lot of mobile apps use it. It's called a hamburger logo, funnily enough. I just found it weird that they didn't keep it as start or options. It's like a very PlayStation thing. But yeah. So that's the controller.
Whatevs.
Yeah, that's the controller.
Controller.
That was most of the news this week, to be honest.
Yeah, you mentioned Resident Evil 8 rumor.
Yeah, I mentioned the Resident Evil 8 rumor, which was, again, just a rumor, but it seems like that is a thing that will happen. And if Capcom continues the cadence that they have with Resident Evil releases, we can look forward to that. Maybe, I mean, that will make sense because they've done the 2 remakes. So it's given them a lot of time to do like a full-fledged sequel.
An actual separate thing.
Yeah, in an engine that they've, made a game in. They've already done first person. So I'm excited to see how they expand on that because I think Resident Evil 7 is very good.
So I'm actually looking at news and it does look like there's actually very little news.
Yeah,
is this just a Corona thing that like news is drying up now?
It could be. It could be because so many companies don't have, they're scared to make commitments to certain plans and stuff like that. I mean, I know the Valorant banner, Valorant beta started this week.
That's worth mentioning. Yeah, the beta started this week and everyone I know is talking about it.
It's a very clever rollout. So you have to watch streamers.
Twitch streams to get keys.
Yes. Yeah, it's quite a clever. I think they hit a 1.7 million viewers, which is, I think, only Fortnite has a bigger concurrent viewing on Twitch.
Let's have a look now quickly. While we are here,
I watched a bit of
browse.
it, and it definitely looks like CS:GO or CS, so definitely not a game
It looks a lot
for
like
me.
CS, yeah.
And it looks quite fun. It's just amazing watching people who are just whacking headshots from miles away, and very, very tactical, very team-based game.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it does look. I mean, I haven't watched enough gameplay, but I've seen the limited gameplay I've seen. Just the weapons alone make me think very much of Counter-Strike. It's
Yeah.
the same sort of feel, which it gets me excited because I don't know. I love Counter-Strike. It's
Yeah,
just a-
it looks like
just a
I was
good
watching it, and I
shooter.
think I messaged you. I'm like, this looks immediately like your type of game. It's just
Yeah.
not my style of game.
Your style of game. So on Twitch at the moment, it's the top watched game with 658,000 viewers,
Sure.
and in second place, League of Legends, 200,000.
So Riot just
People.
killing it.
Right, just the top, and then third place, Final Fantasy VII remake.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah. Let's see who's the top streamer here. But this is sorry, this is unrelated. But oh wait, no, I lie. So at my Twitch has like filters that you can sort now by like viewers high to low, recommended for you, etc. So I watched the one. There's a Resident Evil speedrunner who's now playing Final Fantasy VII, and it was the first recommended.
Because you've
for
been
me.
playing Final Fantasy VII?
Yeah, no, because I've been watching. him
Oh,
play,
okay, I see. I see.
But one of the top streamers, Maximilian dude. What a guy, Maximilian dude. Do you know him?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, he's been waiting for this for a long time, so he's having a great time. I'm
That
sure.
video retrospective of him like waiting for it since announcements was so like heartfelt and cool. Like really, it was fun watching that video though, because like the E3 where they announced Final Fantasy VII was my first E3, and it was my first Sony conference.
That was a long time
like,
ago. Holy shit!
It was the last Sony conference held at the sports stadium where they used to do them before they moved into the theater, because that sports stadium got demolished, as far as I know. And it was just so cool. I remember being in there with Zoe and being like, "Oh my god, this is a Sony conference!" And then it was like just the most batshit crazy conference. It was like
that was
Last Guardian,
one of the best PlayStation conferences ever.
Yeah, Last Guardian, Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'll never forget that. Like, never forget being there. So, and then the year after, when we were there watching Hideo Kojima on stage and God of War being announced, oh my god!
Oh shit! That God of War.
I can still feel that orchestra in my bones, like when and the crowd's roar when the camera
reveal.
panned to Kratos, and oh my god, chills.
It was just insane. What a good time.
I'm not
let's go back
seeing
to E3.
much else. There's season 3 of Call of Duty Warzone and multiplayer out now, which reintroduces Alex from the campaign, which is super weird if you've played that campaign, considering you know what happened to him.
Right, say that again. Who was reintroduced?
Alex, he's the main character in the campaign of Modern Warfare.
Oh, okay.
You played the Modern Warfare campaign, didn't you?
What, the new
Yeah.
one? This is so confusing. No, I didn't.
No.
I haven't played the new Call of Duty.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Wait, when did Modern
confusing
Warfare
stuff for
2
me.
come out? Was it last week? Hey, we spoke about that.
It was last week,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was last
I looked at that. So I was like, there's actually hardly any news.
Yeah, not Fitbit. Beat Saber released a new track, which is like it's called Fitbeat.
Wow.
And it looks like a really intense track to keep you fit at home. So that's cool.
Let's get you working out, man.
Yeah, it's the reviews. The new stuff is drying up just because it's like, I know. Last week was the big Last of Us 2 delay. I know this week that CD Projekt Red said Cyberpunk 2077 content-wise is finished and they're just focusing on polish now, so they don't foresee a delay. But like The Last of Us 2 showed us, the delay isn't because the game isn't ready. It's because of global circumstances not allowing them to release the game in the manner that they want. So
Yeah.
I don't
know. We've got to see how things play out, though. Like, I do think September is the release date. September.
Yeah, it's middle of September.
It's far enough away, but who the hell knows what's going to happen?
There's no point them
yeah.
talking about a potential delay now when they don't know. It's the same as Blizzard with BlizzCon happening in November. They said, right now this show's still on, but we don't know how the world will be in November, so, stay tuned.
Yeah.
I know there was a lot of word
That's news.
during this week that Microsoft was taking all their events online, and people were wondering if that means they're not going to be part of E3 and stuff like that. But they since clarified that it's events that they host, not necessarily trade shows that will all be digital for the next year. So they'll still be at Gamescom and E3 if those events go forward.
And I think they did say that they're still going to do something at E3 anyway.
Yes. Well, so next year, yes.
Next year.
There's no E3 this year.
That.
Yeah.
No, I know there's no E3 this year, but aren't they still going to do digital?
Probably. Yeah. They said they're going to do a digital thing. Yeah. That's also news. So E3 or the ESA has basically said that because when they cancelled E3, they said that they were looking at it like a digital event. So that isn't happening with them officially anymore this year. Like the ESA has basically said, we're not doing that. We're looking forward at 2021 for a new E3. And in the wake of that, actually it happened a little bit before. IGN announced a big thing happening in June around E3 time where a lot of publishers have partnered with them to do like a digital showcase. So it almost looks like traditional media stepping into the shoes of the ESA and giving publishers a platform.
That's like what Kind of Funny did as well. They've done it 2 or 3 times now. They have their Kind of Funny showcase, and
with all the indie games.
They basically said if you've got a game to show, like reach out to us. We'll happily do it for you an hour showcase. Yeah. So it's interesting now that because they're the first ones I know who did that, and now IGN are stepping in, which is very interesting.
Yeah, it's Kind of Funny actually. They forward think a lot of things. That was a real
smart move. Yeah, that is really clever of them.
So IGN's doing that in June. I can't remember what it's called now, but so I think they've got publishers like Square Enix, and it's not the big ones. It's not the big ones that can afford to do their own conferences, but it's like the other publishers that never really hosted their own at E3 but were a big part of E3,
I think it's like mid-tier, if you want to call it
that. It's like Square Enix is involved. I wouldn't call them mid-tier, but it's like they wouldn't host a conference. Scrubs. Yeah. I know Bethesda said...
Square Enix would host their own conference, but they would show...
that Quiet Man thing again. Oh my God.
They have Quiet Man.
Maybe it's a good thing that they don't do their own conferences.
Kingdom Hearts 3 with no sound effects, just dialogue.
Not only was it that, it was the same trailer they had played the day before. So it was like,
Square Enix do their own conference. I think they need to stop doing their own conference.
I know Bethesda said they're not doing an online conference this year, which is interesting.
I would love to know what Bethesda are doing this year.
I'm also very curious because I don't know what's on their slate.
Doom Eternal, like we knew that was going to be a big... I mean, we say we knew it was going to be a big hit, but it has proven to be a big hit for them. But that's like one of their most iconic franchises. Like, I suppose they've got those projects that they showed off. I know there's the one...
Like Starfield. That Time Loop one. What was it called? Deathloop.
Or Deathloop, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Then you're right. There's Starfield. There's still Elder Scrolls. So like, they've got projects, but I wonder.
I don't feel like anything's imminent though.
Announce or
like that's the thing.
That's the thing. Like all of those look so far away.
Yeah.
So, man,
indeed.
Next gen. What a time to be a gamer.
Should we move on to questions?
To questions. Yes,
if you want to send us a question, you can email us checkpointchatpodcast@gmail.com. You can also catch us on all the social media platforms at Checkpoint Chat on Instagram, on Twitter, Facebook.com/Checkpoint Chat.
Of the things.
Checkpoint Chat on TikTok.
We're not on TikTok.
I saw the best TikTok yesterday. Oh my God.
Yes?
It was a guy pretending to be on a plane, but he had put like a tablet.
In the washing machine.
Yes, I died laughing. It was so funny. Just like the amount of detail that went into it. He had his passport. He had like a little bit of champagne. He had like a little fold-out tray that looked... Oh my God, it was so
really good.
funny.
And I think even the sound that overlaid, he had like an intercom
Yes, he had like a calm thing.
He did, right? Yeah.
TikTok's amazing.
Some good stuff. The thing with TikTok is that a lot of it is actual garbage, but the 2 to 5% of good stuff you find is like actual
It's pro,
gold.
yeah.
So,
I love people using that weird like distorted filter to make themselves look like shawarmas that are like spinning on a spit. It's so funny. I find it so funny.
That's like one of the best. That's peak TikTok.
I've seen it so many times and it still gets funny. Like it's so good.
I need to forward you TikToks now that I know you're on the TikTok train.
Yes.
Some good times. Okay, so we have a good few questions, starting with Malesh. Sent this a couple of days ago. He said, "Hey guys, hope you're coping with ISO life. We're all good in Australia. Restrictions aren't as hectic as SA, but I'm on week 4 of working from home, and it's definitely been weird not seeing people other than my family. So you have been raving about Persona 5, and I'm wondering if it's worth paying full price for Persona 5 Royale, or can I get the original for substantially less?"
Oh, I did see this question. I remember seeing this during the week.
Do you think the enhancements in the new version make playing 2 to 3 times the price worth paying 2 to 3 times the price worthwhile? Can you buy the original? I don't actually know.
You can. So this to me is an easy question to answer. I think you should get Royale. I know it's more expensive because it's basically new, but So from reading, I haven't played Royale yet. From reading, there are a lot of quality of life changes that I cannot wait to dig into that would make some of the more tedious aspects of the original game better. Like they've spruced up Mementos, which is the procedurally generated like grinding ground essentially, to make it less tedious, which hallelujah, because that thing got so tedious near the end of the game. They've added like a whole new section of the city for you to explore and take characters out to. And then it sounds like the extra chapter and the extra like season and the extra character as well are like worthwhile additions. It adds a casual like 10 hours to the game, easy.
Damn.
So
because you want to add 10 hours to an
already extremely long game. But apparently the new character's phenomenal. She integrates into the story very well, and her abilities are really fun. So I think that there's a lot of little quality of life changes as well that, I don't want to get into the weeds with it, but basically I think that Royale, if you haven't played and you're looking for the edition to pick up, I think Royale is the one to go for. I mean, if you've waited this long, you can wait a little bit longer till it goes on sale, I think, if you don't want to pay full price for it. But I definitely think between the two, you should get Royale. Yeah.
Well, on that note, so we spoke about, I told you to get Resident Evil 3 original on your Vita. I was going through that shop the other day, and on the Vita, there's Persona 4 Golden, which I've never played.
Game. Which
I looked at and I was like,
I would play that before 5, because once you played 5, it's hard to go back.
You'll never go back.
It's really, because 5 is like more than 10 years younger than that game. So, but Persona 4 Golden is really good.
Well, I'm gonna see, because if we are having this.
Wait, hold on. We share. You should have it.
Man, I don't think I've added your accounts to my Vita.
Yeah, we must check if that works, because we game share. Because I have it digitally, so you might have it.
Okay, I'll have a look.
What a game!
So with the whole drought of games, you start looking at what else can you play? And I looked at it, I was like, that could fill a nice void for a long time.
I'll never forget starting the game for the first time, not really knowing what Persona was, and like 3-4 hours in, I still hadn't done anything. Like I was still just listening to dialogue and stuff, and I was like, what the fuck is this game? It's like I'm watching an anime movie, and now look at me.
That's great though. Look at you now.
That game is far less forgiving about if you do not grind, it will just punish you later on in the game.
Oh, really? Well, shit. Yeah. Let me just check. I know we had a question on Instagram. We didn't have anything on Facebook. We had a question on Instagram that's in Russian.
Oh, cool.
I tried to translate it. I can't copy the text.
Sikie blat.
Sikie, yeah. So from Fanky_Gamey, I'm so sorry. If you could send your question in English, or you can even DM us.
Maybe he did send Sikie blat.
Maybe, I don't know. I tried copying it. I don't know how to replicate these characters.
Okay. Sorry. So Google Translate
failed us. Sorry about that. It has. Yeah, I can't even, because normally you can translate, like if it's a comment on an image or whatever, but under the story I cannot translate it. So yeah.
Try again next week.
Try again next week. We do have a question from Yashai. It says, has there been a game that you now consider bad after initially thinking it was good? Which I've had to think about, and it's difficult to come up with an answer because nothing comes to mind. Like, I don't know if I've had instances where I've played games maybe after the fact and I thought, it's not as good as I thought it was, but like I can't for the life of me remember off the top of my head. I'm talking games that I played like years later where I was like, I have such fond memories of this game. You go back like,
yeah, it's
apparently
not as good as it was. Yeah,
my childlike imagination made this game a lot better than what it actually was. So I don't know if you have any examples.
I definitely have games like this, but I also can't think off the top of my head something. I'm thinking a lot of shooters, like, again, I went back to Crysis 2 and it doesn't feel as good as I thought it would.
I mean, I suppose that's a good example because Crysis 1 and 2, when they came out, those were really good shooters. I loved them.
Especially the first Crysis was like this big sandbox. I think Crysis 1 is still the best out of the three.
Was Prophet in 1 or 2 or both?
He was in 3. I can't remember.
Holy shit, there was a Crysis 3?
Yeah, that's where that was during the year of the crossbow, or the year of the bow and arrow.
But is that the one that had that twist at the end?
Well, he's in 2. He like commits suicide in 2, but then he comes back alive in 3. I don't know.
I think, yeah.
The Crysis story is nonsense as well.
Unrelated. That's, yeah, so I'm getting sidetracked here. But yeah, no games come to mind, unfortunately.
I think Resident Evil 5 fits in there for me because I think that when I played that game, I was like, holy shit, this is incredible. Like, if I go back now, it's like, it's still fun to play, but I see a lot of the nonsense in that game as well. Like, stupid shit in that game.
There's some real dumb shit in that game. I think I've asked you this before, but you've played Resident Evil 4, right?
Which one, sorry?
Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
I'm very tempted to grab that again on Switch because that is
so good.
That is not at all Resident Evil, but in terms of action games, it is just incredible. I absolutely love it.
It's such a good game.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely games that hit that spot with me. Can't think of any off the top of my head though that I play it and I'm like, oh yeah, this used to be really good, and now it's kind of terrible.
I think it's been a long time since I've replayed a game though. So I mean, like one of the last games I replayed was probably Final Fantasy VII, the original, and that still holds up to me. I think it's not easy to get into if you've never played it before. But as someone who's played it many times, I love that game and it still holds up. So I don't know. I don't know. Okay, so you got nothing else?
Oh, first Uncharted. Game sucks.
Ooh. Oh, I've only played it once. And when I played it, I was like, wow,
game is fine.
Amazing.
Like, it's totally fine, but going back and playing that game, especially when you've played the other ones, oh boy, it is hard to go back to that game. It just feels...
Is it because the shooting's bad?
Yeah, the shooting feels terrible in that game. Like, the shooting, I think, in Uncharted isn't its strongest point across the series, but in Uncharted 1, it feels horrendous. Like, it is not good at all. And I just find... Like, I still like that game because it's part of a series that I hold very dear to my heart, but it is the weakest by far. And it's the hardest to go back to. And I can understand why that game didn't make a splash until the second one, because the first one is pretty unremarkable in many ways. So
I don't know. When I played it, I thought it was really good.
I mean, you just need to compare that one to the second one, and you see a massive jump in quality.
There's a big jump, but I think when Uncharted 1 came out, it was this unknown...
It was a launch game, I think.
But bad... No, was it a launch game?
Or maybe it just came out... It was meant to be a launch game, and then came out just after.
But I think when it came out, it was a thing of like, whoa, there's this new adventure game. It looks real pretty, and like it's got a story. And that, I think, was enough for many people. Like, it was just something different.
Remember the time when Naughty Dog put out 4 games in one generation?
It's good times.
And then this year they've done none.
Uncharted 4.
Oh, Uncharted 4, yeah. That's it. Oh, and Lost Legacy, which was like an expansion to Uncharted 4.
That is, I suppose you could.
But last gen was like Uncharted 1, 2, 3, 4, and Last of Us.
No, Uncharted 4 wasn't.
I mean, Uncharted 1, 2, and 3, and Last of Us.
And Last of Us, yeah.
But they also had two teams in, so it was different times.
Oh, the different times. Okay, we have many questions from Megs, who titles his emails Roundabout Lockdown Blues Part 1.
Oh, blues, that's not nice.
When we were out enjoying Lockdown Freedom Day, would people who did physical pre-orders and bought digital have cancelled their orders or sold them off, flooding the market? Games in question would be Resident Evil 3, Persona 5 Royale, and Final Fantasy 7 Remake Part 1. I 100% think that a lot of people cancelled their orders, because I can tell you now, if I had pre-ordered Final Fantasy 7 Remake or even Resident Evil 3 and I had to wait, imagine you waiting to like when was lockdown supposed to end, like the 16th of April? 17th?
And now it's like,
and then you get told to wait. Like if I was going to wait and then I was listening to the address yesterday and I was told it's another 2 weeks, I probably would have just cancelled and gone digital.
Oh, I know Umar, a friend of the show, he went and got a digital version of Final Fantasy 7 because I think he wanted a physical, but he wanted to play it on day one, and I don't blame him. So.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, we know Umar is one of the biggest Final Fantasy fans. Someone like him, you're not going to wait. You've waited years. I mean, if you can play it now.
Exactly. That's the thing. If you can play it now, like,
cancel,
there's no reason. I feel bad for the stores, because I don't know of any that are like even shipping like things out. I know most of them have probably closed, or early shipping out. I know Raru especially, they have a big banner on most of the games saying we'll ship when lockdown lifts. It's like
yeah, the hands are tied. It's this virus is going to have an impact in so many ways like we can't even imagine. And that's just like, we've seen it in gaming. That's whenever I talk to family, I say my one touch point is just how it's really shaken up the world of gaming, how games have been pushed out, E3's been cancelled. And like, we've spoken about it at length many times. I would not be surprised if it pushes out next gen to next year.
I wouldn't be surprised at all. I actually wouldn't even be that sad, to be honest, because there's so many games that are being pushed further and further back this year that it's going to feel real messy with like all these games maybe launching in like August to September range, and then new consoles 2 months later. I think Microsoft and Sony are looking at this very, very carefully and wondering. And I think we spoke about it last week, but Microsoft's at the bigger advantage here because they don't have games that they need to potentially push back. Sony's the one in a weird position at the moment. So, interesting times.
Okay, next question. Part 2 from Meggs. He says, having had the Nintendo Switch for a while now, and finally understood the crazy assumption that everything should be released on it. He says, the Legend of Heroes series, please ASAP. Also found myself not being interested in certain very Nintendo game franchises like Animal Crossing, Pokemon. Am I in the right place, or should I hand in my Switch and await the 5th coming of Shinsengumi? I don't know what that game is. I don't know. Like, I think if you don't like the Nintendo games, you still got every other indie game and many other remasters coming to the Switch. So
the Switch is like
Switch.
My indie machine at the moment. It's
and I'm glad it's not just the thing that you and I have, or it's not just you and I, but it is a thing of like, this game would just be better on Switch.
Yeah, so many games.
Because there's something nice about just having the ability. I can play it on my screen or in bed.
Yeah, the magic promise of unhooking the Switch and just continuing is like the best thing of the system.
I'm actually a bit like, when I think about it now, when the Switch came out, I remember talking about it last year, the year before, saying I wonder if Sony and Xbox would have anything similar in their gen, and
nothing.
Not. It's just, it's a home console. That's that. There's no portability.
It's not their forte.
Because I did think, I mean, Sony's got experience with the Vita. It would be interesting to see a hybrid, like a PS4 Mini, whatever the hell it is, and it is like, it can play the whole PS4 gen, and
that would be dope.
Modern indie games.
That would be so cool. Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
I think I don't think you need to be super into the Nintendo games to have a Switch. I know a lot of people who aren't into Pokemon, especially, and Animal Crossing. I would still give the great Nintendo games like Zelda and Mario try, because I feel like those have a much broader appeal than both Animal Crossing and Pokemon.
Oh yeah. Well, it's interesting the sort of people that get hooked on certain games like that. So my friend Quentin. I went to high school with him, and I've always known him. Always been a PC gamer. He's always loved PlayStation and Xbox, and he's always struck me as the sort of person who he loves like action games and story. Like he loves just story and action games, for example. He messaged me the other day saying like, should he get Animal Crossing on Switch? I was like, I don't know if it's for you, but he said he's been watching a lot of streams and he thinks he might buy it. And then he added me as a friend on Nintendo the other week, because we'd never actually been friends before on Nintendo. And I saw that he's put 100 hours in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
And that to me, it didn't strike me. Like he loves Elder Scrolls, for example. Like he's not the sort of person who doesn't play open world games. He loves RPGs. He's played Fable, Elder Scrolls, like that sort of style of game. But Zelda to me is it's a weird, it's almost like a niche game, but it's not at the same time.
It is, yeah. It's like this weird mix of like choose your own adventure action game. Yeah,
and the thing is, if he asked me, should I play Breath of the Wild, the part of me would have thought like, no, because there's no leveling and
it's not an RPG.
He's played it for 100 hours. I'm like, shit.
I remember talking to him at your wedding about it, because he had his Switch there. We played a lot of Mario Kart together there. Him, Gareth, and I. And yeah, when we were not playing Mario Kart, he was playing Zelda. So yeah,
I just never knew that at all. So it was just fascinating, because it just shows Breath of the Wild is accessible by so many gamers.
Oh yeah, I think Breath of the Wild. I mean, there are people I know who have never picked up games in general, like action games, any games in general, and they've picked up Breath of the Wild and just been like blown away by the things they can do in that game.
There's actually a great, I'm sure I've spoken about this before, there's actually a great series of YouTube videos where I think the one, I'll have to look it up, but this guy basically got his girlfriend or wife to play like 8 games, and she's not a gamer, to play them from scratch, and then talk about, like he observed her and then got her to comment on why it was easy or hard. And what is interesting is that we take it for granted, like if we use thumbsticks, like it's so normal to us now, but obviously starting from scratch, it's not intuitive at all.
Not at all, yeah.
But Breath of the Wild was one of the games she played, and she found it easier. And he commented, he observed that it's purely because there's more space. Like you're in an open world, you can pan that camera and you can get lost however often you want, but there's a button to like click back into place, and it just made it very accessible for her. So just little things like that, like we might not think about it, and it makes it very accessible to people.
I think
just the fact that you're not running into a wall all the time, you're literally in this big open world, you can do whatever the hell you want.
I think playing Breath of the Wild as your first open world game ruins you for the rest of gaming, because it's just every other game feels restrictive by comparison. Yeah.
Okay, next question. Meg says, whatever happened to demos of games? Are playthroughs, worded reviews, gushing vocal conversations about a game enough to persuade a person to drop down a month's value worth of Rockamama's burgers in exchange for a game like Animal Crossing?
Good Lord, I'd take a Rockamama burger so hard right now.
Oh my God. I had pizza for the first time this week in a long time.
I saw your Lenska made you good pizza. Funnily enough, I made pizza as well yesterday. Very good. What was on yours? It looked like deep dish.
It was a deep dish pizza. It was pan. We made it. We made the dough. We fried it in the pan.
You made your own dough.
Oven.
That's amazing.
So I'll continue the recipe. It is actually very easy to do.
Please do.
You see, Lupin he's on the side here just being absolutely ridiculous.
I can see his tail every now and then just chilling.
He's just like trying to get attention from me. So Meg says, whatever happened to demos of games? I don't think every game gets a demo, but a lot of games do get demos.
It's like, a thing that's coming back, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, it's definitely coming back. I mean, Final Fantasy 7 had a demo. Resident Evil 3 had a demo.
Resident Evil 2 had a demo.
Resident Evil 2 had a demo. I mean, those are AAA titles that are demos, and you'll be surprised that there's actually a bunch of demos. Even I remember on my Switch, you get those little news pop-ups. At one news pop-up was like, try these games out before you buy them, whatever. And there was just a list of like demos available on Switch. So they definitely exist.
Yeah, Switch actually has a bunch of demos. I know there's one for like Mario and Rabbids. There was one for what was the Nintendo game? There was a Nintendo game that Octopath Traveler had one.
Yeah, that had a demo.
So I think
they definitely exist.
I think it's weird. I think they went away because like demos take time. Like, it's not just, cool, we're going to take this part of the game and package it and ship it. It's like, cool, we've got to make sure this part of the game works very, very well. We've also got to restrict it in a certain way. We've got to do this. So it's like additional work that maybe isn't worth it at the end of the day. That's my view. I just think it's more work than it's worth. And I think that's what studios gave up on it.
But I mean, even Final Fantasy VII, well...
I was shocked that they put that out, honestly.
That demo, like... They put it out and it's mostly what you get in the main game. But like I told you, there were things stripped back from there that weren't in the demo. And that obviously they had to sit and remove it.
I honestly think that demo was the one that they had at E3 last year. Because I remember people talking about the Scorpion fight at E3 last year.
It probably was. Because even, so we spoke about that Maximilian retrospective of him. I mean, in that video, he said, like, I played the demo, I love it, but I sincerely hope that they show it to the public. And I'm pretty sure that's what they did. It was just the same demo.
And the thing is, people go, well, why can't they just release the E3 demos out into the public? And there's a reason a lot of those, when you go to E3, those demos just aren't on the show floor. Not anyone can go and see them. They're usually behind closed doors because there's a bunch of caveats to them. I know with Doom, there was like a Doom Eternal when I played it at E3 last year. There was a list of like, if this happens, this is a bug, this is a known bug, this is a... And as soon as you put that out into the public, even if you put that disclaimer, like a lot of people ignore those disclaimers. Or you'll suddenly have YouTube videos going, look at this garbage in this Doom demo because this thing's crashing here and there. It's like, not going to take the risk.
But I mean, one thing that really drove that home was when they put out the Cyberpunk, the first gameplay demo of the 45 minutes. Like the first 10 minutes, the narrator said like 3 to 5 times, like just to remind you guys that this is a work in progress. Now we're going to do this, just a reminder, this is a work in progress. And it was like, you have to do that because gamers take things for granted.
I mean,
like,
they say that, but even then, the demo that they brought to E3 is so polished to a degree. Like, it is so polished because they do not want to, like, you to imagine in any way that it's broken, but there are unforeseeable things, especially with the Cyberpunk one, they were playing it live. You know, it wasn't just they can always bring recorded gameplay and then there's no issues ever, but... Yeah. So it's a fine line to like balance. I just don't think demos in today's age are worth it, especially when you have so many, especially now when so many games are live service, so they need online components. And even now you get games that are live service and then you get weekends where it's like, cool, you can play this game for 10 hours. It's like, there's your demo. So
yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. How has the death row simulation been treating you guys? I have ham, but I'm out of bread. Welcome to the Figueroa zone. I don't know what that means.
I haven't had meat since lockdown.
I've actually, so I had chicken earlier this week, but that is the first bit of meat I've had for a long time.
Because I mean, I live in a vegetarian household, so usually when I'd have meat, it was like I've either gone out or I've bought a takeaway or something, and because I can do neither of those, and I've been fine. It's eaten a lot of pasta.
Been fine.
Feels good.
Pasta's good. I do miss.
I miss a good burger.
I've asked everyone, have you lost weight?
I don't have a scale at home. I have no idea.
Because everyone, 90% of people I've spoken to have said they've either stayed the same or they've lost weight, and it's because you're not eating fast food or you're forced to cook your own food, which 9 out of 10 times just by default will probably be more healthy than if you buy like a KFC burger or McDonald's burger or whatever. So like I've lost 2 or 3 kilos.
Holy shit.
And it's like I eat junk food. Like I don't abuse junk food, but I definitely eat it. And just because I haven't had any, but otherwise the death row simulation has been fun. I'm very fortunate in that I can still run, which I'm really grateful for.
Yeah, that's the one thing I miss. I can't.
Yeah, I just run around the property.
I can't bring myself to do that.
Could you? But you can.
I have a route. I have a route. I just can't. Mentally,
I just can't.
Give it a bash.
If you get desperate enough, just put on a podcast or music.
I mean, I'm still gymming at home. I'm doing some like home workouts on my patio with lots of skipping and stuff like that. But I miss going out for a nice 5K run. I really do miss it.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. I miss that because I have to do 50 laps around our property to do 5Ks.
Nope. Nope.
Okay,
But yeah,
let's fly through
it's fine.
these.
The one thing I am finding is my dad bought a lot of peanuts before we went on lockdown because he
Ooh.
loves peanuts, and I snack on those hectically, and they are so calorie dense. It's so bad for you.
Oh,
But it's so
they're
easy to eat
delicious.
so many. Yeah,
They're so good.
I
though.
love peanuts. Yeah.
Okay, you have to listen carefully to this question.
Okay.
You are given 1/2 loaf of rye bread, 10 slices of salami, 6 slices of Gouda cheese, 100-gram tub of mayonnaise,
Ooh.
2 times 10-gram packets of seasoning salt, 2 times packets of 80 grams Lay's salt and vinegar chips, and 1 bottle of soy sauce. All items must be used. What would you make and why? I would honestly just make the biggest sandwich I could.
Yeah, I think if you mix that soy sauce with the mayonnaise, you could get a pretty good sauce going on there.
You've got bread, you've got salami, you've got cheese, and you've got Lay's salt and vinegar chips. Those would all be. I think those would just go. Even if you don't make them in the same sandwich, they could.
You know what you do. You make a rye bread, Gouda cheese, and salami toasted sandwich. And then you mix the mayo and the soy sauce to make like a dip that you can dip the sandwich in, and then you got chips on the side.
That sounds good.
Nailed it.
It's a good meal. Now I'm hungry. I haven't had breakfast.
Toasted sandwiches are the best. I love
So
toasted sandwiches.
snacky. They are life. Okay, third last question. During winter, do you sleep with your socks on or off? Whatever your answer may be, why did you choose that answer?
On because it's cold.
Yeah, so in summer, obviously, I sleep barefoot. And for the most part, I often try just sleep barefoot, even into winter, to try adjust. But we always reach like the first cold front or something, and then I just can't.
Yeah.
I need to sleep with socks.
As a kid, I
way too
used to
cold.
hate it. I used to go through winter without socks, but as soon as I started becoming a properly thinking adult, I'm like, wait, socks keep me warm. They're like one of my extremities. So
Kids do silly
fluffy socks are bae. Fluffy socks are real good.
They are bae. Okay, second
I feel like we're already in that like cold snap. It's just not going to get warm again.
Yeah, I mean, the days are still warm at least, but
It's getting cold.
the mornings and the evenings are
getting cold.
getting real
Fuck
cold.
my life. Hate winter.
God damn. At least we're home. It's nice. Just get
I still hate winter.
If Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1 is released on the Switch, would it be in the same engine as the HD Pocket Edition of Final Fantasy 15?
Shit, that'd be cool.
Or you don't think it would ever be released at all on the Switch or the Switch Duo future prototype?
I don't think it'll ever be released, but in that Pocket Edition engine, I would be super stoked at that.
I'd be interested to see what it looks like. Look, I wouldn't be shocked if they've got exclusivity for a year, right?
Yeah, and there's
Fantasy
already a
7.
hint. I think they put out a thank you trailer for Final Fantasy VII, and it said captured on PC, so people are like, what?
That is such a dick thing
Yeah,
to
it's
do.
like,
Hey,
okay.
hey, it exists, guys. We just got to hit the flip live button. If it doesn't come, I don't think it'll come out on Switch. The fact that game runs on my base PS4 as well as it does is like it's sorcery. My PlayStation sounds like it's going to take off.
Oh, the
But
Pro
it-
sounds
but
the
it
same as
works.
well. Don't worry.
It works. It won't work on Switch though. However, if the next gen Nintendo, the Switch 2, whatever, I could see it being a port. I mean, look at the Switch now. We're getting all these remasters of some this gen stuff and some last gen stuff. So,
I mean, that's a
I'm not
good
ruling
point.
it
It
out,
runs
yeah.
on the base PS4, and we've seen a lot of games on the base PS4 being ported, but it all depends on the optimization of the engine and stuff like that. So, and whether they even want to. So, I don't see it happening,
Okay.
but I'd be happy if it
in a
happened.
few
It'd be
years.
cool.
Yeah. Okay, last question. Is Alessandro still aiming to make a game, or is he taking his time? Doing business programs together, game capital? Are you basically working to fund your first
No,
game?
I'm working to fund my pockets and my living expenses. No, I haven't even looked at making games in a very long time. I should start something on the side, but I'm also so busy. Like, I do so much.
You're the busiest. Like, I'm not even trying to be over complimentive or whatever. Yeah, you're honestly the most busy person I know. Like, when you're at your busiest, I have no idea how you manage.
I do too much at times. Yeah.
You have your day job, you do a podcast on the side, you play games for review, and you still
Write every
find
day.
time to do life. Like I don't understand.
Last year I thought I was busy and I was like just doing reviews, and now I'm doing daily news for GameSpot as well. So it's like, what am I doing with my life? Yeah.
What a mad
I'm super
man.
busy, so maybe one day. I'm learning how to do a Rubik's Cube now, so.
Going back to the basics, like actual basics.
But yeah, I haven't opened up game dev software. No, I downloaded the latest Unity the other day just because there was something in there I wanted to check out. And but yeah, I just don't have the draw to it yet, and it'll come. It'll come.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's all the questions, and that is a very long episode.
Thank you for your. I've just realized through this recording, I think I know why the lights on the microphone blink. I think it blinks.
Is it when it peaks?
Yeah, I think it blinks red when it clips. And I'm just seeing mine blink a lot, so that means I'm either too close to my microphone or I'm very loud. So that's not great.
Oh, has mine gone red? No, mine's mostly
I can't even see yours.
Green. It's there. Look at that. Yeah, it's right there. Look, just between my fingers. Boop.
It's like a little
still
pimple.
Green. So let me squeeze it.
If you want to send us questions, you can at Checkpoint Chat on Instagram, at Checkpoint Chat on Twitter, facebook.com/Checkpoint Chat. And if you want to email us like Migs does every week, checkpointchatpodcast@gmail.com. Send us emails. Can't reset that counter because it's being reset every week, and I love it.
Every week. Yeah, it's great.
So
the lockdown continues.
The lockdown continues. At least another 3 episodes like this, at least.
Yeah.
If it doesn't get extended again.
Will we get to 100 and look at each other in the eye, like, hey, we made it?
We'll each bake half a cake and then put it together on stream.
And put it together.
Are you, speaking of streaming, you streamed this week. I joined in on Jackbox. It was a lot of fun.
How good.
I saw you get angry and ban a user. That was cool.
I didn't get mad. I was just like,
you were
I
just
don't need
disappointed.
this.
You look like a disappointed parent.
Yeah, I was like, a Jackbox is a weird one because you often get random people just like, hey, I'm here to cause shits. And I'm like, in looking back, I should have like given a warning or time. I was like,
no, you just like, boom.
My channel, my rules.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't trust it.
I was just bummed out that the when I got into that game, that prototype game, every time we were meant to like vote, my thing just bombed out.
Crashed.
So I couldn't ever vote. It really sucked. But
it was a good time though. I will definitely do more.
What are you planning to stream this week?
I might do. I'm torn about Final Fantasy VII because it's something I'd like to just not that you can't take your time when you stream, but when you stream, it's difficult to immerse yourself because you're playing and then reading.
You're
chat.
It's like you're talking. It's a very different experience.
Yeah, it's a different experience. So like I streamed the first bit of Ori, for example, and I enjoyed it, but then the last 8 hours of the game I did it myself because I wanted to just enjoy the game. So I might do some Final Fantasy.
What about some Resident Evil?
I did that earlier this week actually. My hardcore run was done on one stream.
That's amazing. That's really cool.
I started at 9 and went to bed at like 2 in the morning.
You should be like Journey to the S rank, which is like a 2-hour playthrough.
Oh god. Maybe. I mean that's what's nice about Resident Evil. I can just do it in a stream.
There's a playthrough on IGN which is 45 minutes.
Yeah, the speedrunners are doing it.
Unreal.
It's interesting that speedrunners. So Resident Evil 2, I think they've got it down to like 47 minutes.
That's crazy.
And Resident Evil 3, which is a shorter game, takes a little bit longer. It feels like, but I think it's because there's forced moments that you can't skip. Yeah. Which I think, if I was a speedrunner, I think there are moments in Resident Evil 3 that would make it very frustrating to speedrun. Like that opening scene, as awesome as it is the first time.
Oh god,
having to speedrun through it. It's like 3-4 minutes every time.
Yeah, there's no way to make it faster. There's
no way to skip it. But
sequence.
You never know. People will always find a way.
Maybe they find a skip.
So it's still early days. They find a skip or something. There are ways. People figure the shit out. So we'll see. It's like, I'll clip through this door and then it triggers this thing over there, which loads in this into memory, and then it starts you at this point in the game. That was kind of the thing I
noticed when I started that game again. I was like, wow, the first half an hour of this game is really like not really a game. It's like a very extended cutscene, honestly. So yeah. Good times.
Okay, but you're gonna play Final Fantasy VII this weekend,
probably, or Doom,
just why not?
Or more Half-Life 2. I'm definitely playing more Half-Life 2 today.
You're gonna finish Half-Life 2. Don't worry.
I'm really itching to get to Alex, but I'm like being very responsible and catching myself up. So
not drinking and playing.
Yeah,
good,
God.
good on
Oh,
you.
imagine playing drunk VR. That'd be the worst time.
Oh boy,
Ugh.
you'll actually die.
Anyway, that's been
Okay.
episode
Oh,
94, Checkpoint Chat. Thank you so much again for listening. If you're in lockdown, we hope this keeps you a little bit of company if you're not having a great time. Yeah. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay sane. We'll see you again next week.
Yeah, cool guys.
Okay, bye.
Goodbye.